other. But one has to learn, first of all, the art of simply being satisfied. And it's something, Krishna, he actually boils it down to be satisfied. He calls it, it's one of the austerities of the mind, to be satisfied. The mind is always dissatisfied, complaining about this and that, hankering, lamenting. That's the mind. The mind will be constantly dissatisfied. Krishna says it's an austerity of the mind to just be satisfied. So it's a decision. As far as I can understand, Krishna is talking about simply make a decision. Stop being dissatisfied and just decide to be satisfied. That's it. That's austerity. And then you can actually be satisfied. It's kind of a little trick. But you simply decide to be satisfied in any circumstance, and just don't start changing the circumstances to think that will make you more happy. Just be satisfied in whatever situation you're in. We're sitting here in Vandløse, Copenhagen. I mean, it's a horrible place. Really, I mean, Vandløse it's just a boring place, filled with dry people. Or Copenhagen is a horrible, noisy city, and like all modern cities are. And you know, we would like to be on in a different place. I mean, also, and it is cold here and windy all the time, and so on. So we would like to be, you know, somewhere else where it is sunny and not too warm and not too cold and green and lush and fresh fruit and everyone is smiling and happy and like that. No one would like to go to that place. But the austerity of mind is to actually say, I'm here in Copenhagen, Vandløse, and I'm satisfied. Satisfied with being here. That means I don't want to go anywhere else. One is simply satisfied being here and think this is even the perfection to be here. Or wherever one is, and it's not. One is simply satisfied being here, wherever that happens to be. And just serve Krishna from there. That's the secret of life. Then one can actually experience real peacefulness in Krishna consciousness, because that's what it takes. It's, you know, one has to practice Krishna consciousness from the mode of goodness, from the stable, peaceful platform, steadily. Devotional service is one of the main qualifications is steadiness. And one simply goes on with one's service. One is assigned a particular service, and if one is not assigned a particular service, one should by all means get some service. Take some responsibility for a little service or a big service, and then expand it. More service, take responsibility for that service and do it steadily, for years and years and years and years on end. And this is how one makes advancement. I mean, there are different ways of making advancement, but the real advancement in spiritual life comes when one takes up responsibility for a particular service, and it's not a matter of it's a service which is very glamorous and it's noticed by everyone, or if it's just a simple service nobody notices. That's not the point. But a steady service one does all one's life, or and just does it, takes responsibility for it. That will bring one to Krishna's lotus feet. For example, Prabhupada would notice that very much, or point out that to his devotees, that it was in the, I believe it was in the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan, and Prabhupada had also known this, seeing a widow, an old widow, from him before, and also when Prabhupada was there with his devotees in the 70s when they first came to Vrindavan. There was this old widow, and every morning she would go down to the Yamuna with 2 big pots, and then she would fill them with water and then come back, and she would just deliver them to the pujaris to be used in the bathing of the deities. And she was, that was just her service every day. She came and did that. But then one day, and then she didn't come. And Prabhupada said she must have died. Because she was so responsible, she had taken that was her service. And when she did, then he assumed she must have left her body. And where did she go? Back to Krishna, of course. For this steady service that she had taken, bringing water for the bathing of the deity every day. It's not a spectacular service. Prabhupada, with his pure transcendental devotional vision, noticed her because this is actually devotion. But most people wouldn't even have noticed her and noticed the service. But that doesn't matter. Krishna notices. That's the point. Krishna notices. Guru notices, and that's all that matters. But it's actually it's a real way to advance, make big step in advancement in devotional service is to actually take up the responsibility for a particular service. One is given a service somehow or another by, associating with devotees. Devotees are serving Krishna, and we can assist devotees in their service. And by taking and assisting, we also get a particular service. We have, pots in the kitchen needs to be washed, and it's a great opportunity for rendering service. And if you take responsibility for that, does it steadily, you will advance rapidly in devotional service. That's where actually advancement really starts. I mean, of course, it's Krishna has a program for that everyone should advance in devotional service, and therefore, for most people, the advancement, who are not very much connected with devotional service, and they are, just you come to the temple and you bow down, and you pray for the mercy, and you give a donation, and or you come to a festival, and there's some special mercy, some the water that has been offered to the deities. Pujari walks around, he throws water drops on everyone's head, and we get mercy on our head, and we advance like that. And that's all well and good. It's all well and good, and one does make advancement, but that's it's for those who are very little connected with Krishna consciousness, and we cannot just go back to Godhead only by getting a few drops of water on our head, and that's the only thing. It's something that brings us closer to Krishna, and but the real mercy, mercy and advancement happens when one steadily performs devotional service, just dedicates oneself to it, and even though it's not being noticed, that's actually where the real, the real advancement is. There is. And we should know that, if one is engaged in steady devotional service, one should understand, actually one has gotten all the mercy already. There is it's a letter from Prabhupada, and I don't remember exactly what he talks about, but you know that there are many places where it's said that if you go to to a holy place on such and such a day, and then you perform service in that place during that day on the full moon, you say so many, then there's so much extra mercy being given like that. And, what connection has Prabhupada like? But it's kind of, it's been for this particular, you go there and you get some special mercy on that day. And Prabhupada said, that's not for devotees. Really. It's a special offer. It's like a business company. Prabhupada gives the example. A business shop, to attract new customers, sometimes have a special sale. You can get a special price, low price on a special offer to attract new customers. So Krishna has these special offers. Come here and get some special mercy on that day. That's to attract new customers. It's not for those devotees who already just situated in steady devotional service, they have all been way beyond that level. They're getting so much mercy already that one should not be, that's another illusion to think if we engage in devotional service that we can get more mercy than that. That is the full mercy actually. And there's a story that what's his name? Shrutikirti, Prabhupada's, actually that he was a devotee who was the longest time servant of Srila Prabhupada. And he was here a few years ago, 6-7 years ago, and lectured on some of his memories from Prabhupada. And also he wrote a book called What is the Problem? And the title of the book comes from Prabhupada, because that was Prabhupada would always say that what is a problem. And especially the Shrutikirti would come and he would look very worried, and there's so many problems, and I had this and that. And Prabhupada just said, what is a problem? Meaning, there's no problem. You think there's a problem, but there's no problem. We're serving Krishna, so actually that, there's no problem. We think, all my mind and all my sins. But we're serving Krishna, so actually, as long as we're doing that, then there's no problem. Of course, there's a problem to serve Krishna better, but there's not really a problem. So that's the title of the book. So he narrates that one time, and actually they were flying, Prabhupada and him, and Prabhupada's secretary, and also, I believe, Sanskrit editor, Pradyumna. Prabhupada would travel with a party of 3, 4, 5 men. And so whenever they came to a new place, and they came to the airport, and then Prabhupada, he would come off the plane and into the airport. And devotees, they were there, and they were, they had a reception for Prabhupada. And they would have kirtan, and they would be enthusiastic, and they would be jumping and dancing and crying and paying obeisances, and they would be so ecstatic to see Prabhupada. And Shrutikirti was just there with suitcases afterwards. And he was thinking, I don't feel anything. And I see these two. They have so much love for Prabhupada. I don't have any love for Prabhupada. So he was, in one sense, getting depressed. And then, so one day he came to Prabhupada and he said that, actually Prabhupada, I see that all these devotees come here and receive you and have so much love for you. But I don't have any love for you, Prabhupada. I don't feel any love for you. But not like they do. And then Prabhupada didn't say anything. He just. But then it was a little later, during the same day or something like that. And again, Shrutikirti came in, and it was a very Prabhupada. And Prabhupada just looked at him and said, are you happy here? And are you satisfied with being my servant? And I think Shrutikirti said, yes, I'm very happy serving you. And then Prabhupada said, love means service. So that, the point is that he was serving. I mean, it wasn't. But so that means that was actually love. And even if he didn't have love, but that thanks that he goes on, and if one goes on just serving, love will develop. Love will naturally develop. And that's so love means service. And if we want to develop real love for Krishna, we have to get a service and then keep on doing it steadily, and take responsibility for it, and be completely dependable and excel, and just become better and better in that service. As one does that, then the love for Krishna will just grow more and more naturally. Service is a great blessing. That we should also understand. And this is what we're praying for when we chant Hare Krishna. Oh Krishna, oh Ram, oh Lord, please engage me in your service. And service is a great blessing we're getting. It's not work. It's not a curse. It's not something where think, oh, why me? Why not someone else? No, service is the greatest treasure that one can be given. That's actually this is reality, this is the true vision of someone who actually can see things as they are. And to advance in spiritual life means to be greedy, but for service. You know, that this is a real. Rupa Goswami writes, the real thing that can advance one in devotional service, like anything, is greed. One is never satisfied. Like a greedy person, no matter how much money he has, he wants more and more and more and more. And if a devotee has the same greed, but in relation to service, he wants more and more and more and more. That greed is actually what can, more than anything, bring one to perfection in Krishna consciousness, to actually develop real love for Krishna. So that's what Krishna wants to bring everyone to that point. Love for Krishna, which means to be fully engaged in devotional service, which means that one is, as a foundation, one is unattached to the material world. One becomes attached to what is favorable for Krishna's service, and one then learns to be unattached to the material world, to the dualities of the material world, to be, as I said here, satisfied with whatever comes of its own accord, free from duality, and not envy, and steady in both success and failure. That's the steadiness again. Steadiness in service, whether it goes good, whether it goes bad. That doesn't matter. One is steady and goes on and on and on. And Krishna says, actually here talks about entangled. One will never be entangled, although one is very active. One is engaged in all kinds of actions for Krishna's sake. One is not entangled in the material world. I think we can stop here. Again, I'm sorry that Maharaj couldn't make it tonight. Show up again tomorrow morning and tomorrow night. There's a chance it might be a class, but any questions or comments?
I was wondering with this, the one that any others' devotional service and the one's own service.
What does that mean?
Yes, in practice.
He does not allow anyone's service to hamper his own service in Krishna consciousness. Good question. Prabhupada writes it here. And what do you think it means?
Well, it could be interpreted as that, like if you get in my way, I'm going to push you out. Because I have my service and I'm going to do my service. So
yeah.
That's one way to see it. Otherwise, I don't know. That might be, this is probably not how I should act.
No.
Like I'm thinking that can be right, but that's one immediate interpretation one could draw from it. But I'm sure there must be some different way.
Yeah.
This.
But Prabhupada doesn't elaborate.
Just as I read it, I couldn't draw that conclusion.
It's one of those sentences. Prabhupada doesn't elaborate on it, but one can kind of think about what it means, and then actually many meanings will come up actually, which and that contemplation will, I'd say, whatever interpretation you put on it, it will simply increase one's steadiness in devotional service, because that's the essence. And one can find, maybe one is dependent on someone else doing his service somewhat, and someone doesn't do that, his service properly, it interferes with your service, and then one might get discouraged. Anyway, it's so difficult with all this service, and nobody is cooperating, or they are, they suddenly, they are entering into my area of service and not coordinating and informing and communicating properly and so on, and one becomes discouraged, and that And then, but the Chris says, one goes on with one service no matter what. And one doesn't let anyone else's service handle his own service. Of course, I mean, it might be, if you do things cooperatively and others don't, do their service properly, it will affect in external sense what goes on. If for example, we have a kitchen and we have cooks and we have pot washers, and sometimes a pot washer somehow or other, there was misunderstanding and pots were not washed, and then then it's a great hindrance for the cook, how to cannot cook because there are no pots. So, well, then maybe the cook then decides we'll change the menu, we'll wash pots instead, and then we'll make something very simple because there's no time for it. So that's okay. That's just a practical adjustment. But the cooks does not get discouraged from his or her service, or want to does not let other service handle one's own service. It's an internal thing. It's also an external thing to a large degree. But of course, there can be circumstances where simply one service is not. You cannot do the service because of some external reason, but your determination to perform service will not stop, and you try to perform the service in another way, with whatever you can.
I asked this question, so I'm not actually sure, but there was one thing in the role you look actually the bonus by my Sangishan Prabhu as well. I don't know if it's recorded, but what I remember, I was trying, I didn't remember anything, but one thing as far as I remember, was that one will not even think that somebody else is disturbing one's service. That sort will kind of, it's like you say, it's more like an internal thing. That actually, there might in one sense externally be like disturbances, but a devotee will not think that, now they're disturbing my service, that kind of mood. So it's like more the mood that one don't feel disturbed. That one is just so determined and peaceful and just that one doesn't allow in the mind, basically.
And one goes on. Until the goal is achieved, one doesn't get discouraged. There's a goal to, every service has a certain, goal to achieve, and one goes on to that. But actually, the curtain should open at 7 o'clock, isn't it? No. It should just open. Sorry, just open at 7 o'clock precisely. We should stop here. Actually, we have a Gorati. And let's stop here. Apologies, this substitute for the class.